meet with President Vladimir Putin to negotiate a solution to the war in Ukraine?
Not bilaterally without Ukraine, no. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine.
This is my video update on this Tuesday afternoon, October the 8th, coming to you from Ayia Napa, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And a lot of interviews going on over the past couple of days. And where should we begin? We have a lot of interviews to talk about, to cover on this video today. And let's start things off with Elon Musk's interview with Tucker Carlson, where Elon Musk, he said some interesting things to Tucker Carlson. And he said during this interview, he said that where is the quote? He said that if Trump loses, I am effed. That is what Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson. Joking around, but also serious. You have to believe that Elon Musk was also being serious when he said that if Trump loses, he is effed, because if Harris wins, then you have to imagine that her Department of Justice and her Treasury Department, they're not going to be very happy with Elon Musk and the fact that Musk has gone all in with Trump and trying to get Trump elected. And they're going to go after X. They're going to go after Musk. And he was joking around about prison when he was speaking to Tucker. He said something along the lines of how big is my prison cell going to be, or something like that. I mean, he's joking around. Obviously, Elon Musk is not going to go to prison, but they're going to definitely go after X, and they're going to definitely make life hard for Musk, because he's gone all in for Trump. I mean, he has gone all freaking in to get Trump elected. But it was an interesting interview between Musk and Tucker. And speaking of Kamala Harris, she gave an interview to CBS News and 60 Minutes, and it was, I don't know, it was a bit of a train wreck. I think it was a train wreck. The UK Times, they say that Kamala Harris's 60-minute interview, she was disarmingly human. The vice president did not have all the answers when questioned on key issues by CBS, but there were no word salads this time. That's the benchmark for a U.S. president. As long as there are no word salads, then you can have the codes to the nukes. Oh boy, she was disarmingly human. That's what you say when you have nothing good to say about the interview. There's nothing really good to talk about the interview with CBS News and with 60 Minutes. So you come up with, well, at least she was disarmingly human, I guess, you know. Oh boy. Well, my opinion is that the interview did not go well. It did not go well at all. And Harris, she could not answer a freaking question, man. She could not answer a question. And you know, the 60 Minutes interviewer, I forgot the dude's name, but he was trying to help her. He really was trying to help her. He's asking her a question, and he's telling her, Kamala, you didn't answer the question. I mean, he's actually saying this to her. Yeah, but you didn't answer the question. Maybe you want to try answering the question. Come on, just answer the question. It's a softball question. I'm teeing it up for you. Now just hit it out of the park. Come on, answer the question. That's what he was telling her. And she couldn't answer the freaking question. It was no word salad, but it was kind of a salad. I mean, she has a hard time just answering a question directly. She has a really, really hard time answering a question. And at times, the 60 Minutes interviewer, he was getting visibly frustrated. I'm trying to help you out as best I can, but what can I say? I tried. I tried. Media oligarch overlords. I tried to help her out. What can I do? Anyway, that was the 60 Minutes interview. Go see it for yourself. You be the judge, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Harris's interview to 60 Minutes. She did answer one question. Let's be fair to Harris. When she was asked about negotiations with the Putin for Project Ukraine, would you negotiate with the Putin? Harris said, no, I will not negotiate with the Putin. So she did answer that question. Can you imagine Kamala Harris sitting across the table from Putin? Can you imagine that? Oh boy. Oh boy. I can't imagine Harris sitting across the table from, I don't know, Macron, from Stalmer, let alone negotiating with Putin. But Harris said that there will be no negotiations without Ukraine. And then she said something along the lines of Trump wants to sit down with Putin and negotiate Ukraine, and that would be capitulation. That is what Harris said. That would just be capitulation. But I cannot imagine Harris negotiating with Putin. I can't get there. But who knows? We might have something like that. God help us. Anyway, that was the Harris interview. And Lavrov, he gave an interview to Newsweek the other day, and he said that BRICS and the multipolar world cannot be stopped. He said it is unstoppable. Cuba today, they announced that they're going to be applying to enter BRICS. Syria yesterday, they said that they're going to be applying to enter BRICS. Everyone is applying to enter BRICS. All of the global south is applying to enter BRICS. That's what happens, Professor Biden, when you go after a country like Russia and when you weaponize the US dollar and place 16,000 sanctions on Russia so you can regime change a very popular president, a president that's very popular with the global south. What happens is that countries, they start looking elsewhere. They start looking for protection and refuge. And there you have BRICS right there waiting. The perfect place to protect against sanctions and the weaponization of the US dollar and maybe even regime change. But Cuba, Syria, they want to enter BRICS. Lavrov told Newsweek, BRICS is unstoppable. The multipolar world, actually, he said, is unstoppable. And then Lavrov talked about Project Ukraine. He said that Moscow would prefer to end the conflict once and for all, rather than have a ceasefire or a freeze or something like that. And Lavrov said the West must stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. Kiev should return to a neutral, non-bloc, and non-nuclear status, protect the Russian language, and respect the rights and freedoms of its citizens. Lavrov also said that a good place to start for negotiating Project Ukraine would be the Istanbul agreements. He said they could serve as a basis for a settlement. So that's Lavrov, echoing what Putin has said and what Medvedev has said, and Zakharova, and every top level Russian official, which is that Russia is not interested in a freeze. They're not interested in a stalemate. They're not interested in a ceasefire that doesn't solve the root problems of what has happened in this conflict between Russia, Ukraine, and Russia and the collective West. Russia wants a comprehensive solution to this conflict, this war, this problem that persists with the collective West. And they have Istanbul. They have the Istanbul Agreement, which Putin, a couple of months ago, called Istanbul Plus, or at least that's what Alexander called it. That's what the Duran called it, Istanbul Plus, which is an agreement that Russia could negotiate, but it's harsher than the first Istanbul in 2022. But if the collective West would agree to Putin's terms that he laid out a few months ago, at least it saves Ukraine. But they're not going to negotiate on Istanbul, and they're not going to negotiate on Istanbul Plus. And according to Zelensky, the only game in town is my peace formula and peace summit. Or if you go by NATO and Stoltenberg, they want a land for NATO, West Germany solution to Ukraine. Lavrov is saying none of that. We don't want any of that. We're not interested in land for NATO. We're not interested in a Podolyak peace summit. We are not interested in any of that. We want a comprehensive solution that takes into account the realities on the ground in Ukraine, but also the realities with regards to a multipolar world and to the momentum behind BRICS, something that the collective West would never be able to agree to, at least not yet. And Lavrov, he said that the collective West must stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. So that's what Lavrov told Newsweek in this interview. And what does France do? As Lavrov says, no more weapons to Ukraine, and then we can start moving towards some sort of a solution. What does France do? They announce that they are going to be sending Mirage 2000 fighter jets to the Zelensky regime. And the Mirage 2000 fighter jets, they will be in Ukraine, according to French reports, by 2025, early to middle 2025. And they will be equipped to launch Scalp/Storm Shadow missiles. And according to French reports, Ukraine pilots have been training secretly in France to fly the Mirage 2000 fighter jets. So that is Macron. One day he talks about not escalating and getting to a peaceful solution with Russia, or including Russia in some sort of a peace summit. And then the next day he sends fighter jets, or talks about sending fighter jets, Mirage 2000s, to the Zelensky regime so he can escalate with Russia. That's flip-flopper Macron for you. France has been pushing hard. They have been poking the bear really, really hard. Macron has taken a very hard stance with Russia. He's bitter. He's bitter at the fact that France has been kicked out of Africa, and he blames Russia for it. So he's lashing out by accelerating the destruction of Ukraine. I don't know. Is that how Macron is going to retaliate against Russia? This is his form of retaliation by making Ukraine suffer. He believes that he's sticking it to Russia, but he's really sticking it to Ukraine. But anyway, that is Macron. That is France. And Borrell, he gave an interview, I believe, to Spanish media. And Borrell, he said that if the collective West stops supporting Ukraine, then Ukraine would capitulate in 15 days. That is what Borrell admitted. An admission that Ukraine without the Zelensky regime, without the collective West, is just not there, non-existent. They wouldn't even survive 2 weeks without all the money and all the weapons from the collective West. 2 weeks, 15 days is what Jungle Joseph gives Ukraine without collective West support. If we stop supporting Ukraine, the war will be over in 15 days and Putin will achieve his goals. But do we want this for the Ukrainians and for the security of ourselves as Europeans? Borrell asked, arguing that it is important how the conflict ends, not when. Jungle Joseph, he's got a taste for war, man. He really does have a taste for this. It doesn't matter when the conflict ends. It just matters. What matters is how the conflict ends. Is it good for Europe? Is it good for the globalist elite? That is what Borrell. I was going to say Macron, but you can lump Macron in there as well. But that is what Borrell means. Is this good for the political elite of the collective West? Is this going to be good for us? Is this going to be good for the European Union and the kleptocrats in Brussels and the political class in NATO? No, it's not going to be good for us. So it doesn't matter when the conflict ends, even though if we end the conflict today, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives will be saved. And Ukraine will be saved. Nope. That's not going to be good for us because we would be admitting defeat to Russia, and we can't do that. We cannot do that. So we need to continue to support Ukraine and to continue this conflict with Russia. It is important how the conflict ends, not when. That is the top diplomat of the European Union, whose tenure ends, I believe, in a month. In a couple of months, his tenure ends. And who's going to replace Jungle Joseph? Kaja Kallas. Even more hawkish, even more of a warmonger, of a Russia hater. Kaja Kallas. She will be replacing Jungle Joseph. It's just going to get worse for, it's just going to get worse for Ukraine, and it's just going to get worse for the European Union. Oh well. Oh well. Anyway, that is what Jungle Joseph said. And I think that's the roundup of all the interviews that took place over the past couple of days. So the EU, they are concocting a scheme, a formula to bypass Hungary's veto of 6 billion euros to Project Ukraine. Hungary's vetoing this money to get to the Zelensky regime, and this is really pissing off the European Union. So according to Bloomberg, the EU floats a path to overcome Hungary's veto on Ukrainian funding. More than 6 billion euros for Ukraine has been blocked for months. Member states' ambassadors to discuss a way forward. This week, the EU's diplomatic arm, the External Action Service, is weighing allowing member states to make voluntary contribution to the European Peace Facility, according to people familiar with the discussions, who spoke on condition of anonymity. That would allow future funds to flow based on the consent of contributions rather than by unanimous support. Basically, what the workaround is going to be is that the European Union, instead of this money coming out of the EU slush funds, of which all the member states contributed, but the EU, they control the funds, and they were going to to send the money that is in this peace facility. Interesting name, the European the European Peace Facility, which is a slush fund where weapons will be purchased for Ukraine, but they call it the peace facility anyway. This money in the slush fund needs unanimous approval to be sent to Project Ukraine. Hungary is blocking the money from being sent to Ukraine. So the workaround is that the EU is going to go to member states, and they're going to tell member states, you can send money to these funds that we have, and we will then direct them to Project Ukraine. So it will be on a member state basis. And this way, there's no unanimous approval that is needed, and each member state can decide on their own if they would like money sent to Project Ukraine, so that weapons can be purchased. But the problem with this plan is that you would then require the parliaments of member states to approve the sending of money to Ukraine. And that's something that the EU has been trying to avoid. They do not want each member state's parliament to approve funds being sent to Ukraine to purchase weapons, so that the war can continue. And Jungle Joseph Borrell can be happy because Borrell wants the war to continue. Anyway, that is the plan that the EU is now considering. They are plenty mad with Orban. Plenty mad. That 6 billion. That 6 billion would have looked really nice in the washing machine, wouldn't it? Spinning around in that washing machine. That's 6 billion euros. So should we get into some clown worlds, or do I have any more stories to discuss? Let's do one more. How am I doing on time? Yeah, let's do one more story, and then we'll get to some clown worlds. So a Moscow court, they have sentenced a 72-year-old U.S. mercenary to 6 years in prison. This is the first, I believe this is the first U.S. mercenary that has been sentenced to prison for fighting in the conflict with Ukraine. 72 years old, everybody. And from what I understand, he was living in Ukraine since 2014. And he was offered $1,000 a month by the Ukraine military to fight in the conflict with Russia. $1,000 a month. 72 years old. Bro, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? 72 years old for $1,000 a month? The State Department, they were asked to comment on this verdict, but from what I understand, the court was not open to the public. It was not an open trial. And the State Department, they claimed that they have not been given access, embassy, consular access to this U.S. citizen. Every time I hear stories like this of the State Department talking about consular embassy access to American citizens, wherever they are, I think of Gonzalo. Think of Gonzalo, man. And the State Department, it seems like they didn't do much, did they? Anyway, the Colombian mercenaries. Remember the story about the Colombian mercenaries? I talked about this in a clown world about a month ago, maybe more than that. But two Colombian mercenaries that were fighting for Ukraine, they were on their way back to Colombia, and they went via Venezuela, and they were going to board a plane from Venezuela to Colombia. And from what I understand, at least from what I remember from this story, they were wearing their military clothes, their fatigues, and the Ukraine ones, right? With, from what I understand, with the Ukraine flag and everything. And the Venezuelan authorities, they spotted them and they said, you're not going anywhere. And they grabbed these guys, found out they were mercenaries fighting for Ukraine, and then sent them back to Russia. Well, sent them to Russia. Anyway, these guys, from what I understand, they also had their trial, and it looks like they are going to be sentenced. I'm not sure if a sentence was given, but it looks like they're going to be sentenced to possible life in prison. 15 years is going to be the first sentence, and then, from what I understand, they're going to also be sentenced to an additional life in prison. Shouldn't have gone to Ukraine, man. Should not have gone to Ukraine to fight Russia. Bad move on these guys' part. And then flying via Venezuela and wearing your military outfits, very stupid. Very, very stupid. Venezuela, man. Venezuela. How did they saw these guys and then they sent them back to Russia. Man. An incredible story, guys. Anyway, let's do some clown worlds. And the first clown world comes from the Netherlands. The Netherlands making news. Mark Rutte, the new king of NATO, the Netherlands defense minister in Kiev, announcing F-16s in Ukraine. And then the rumor has it that those F-16s were demolished. That's just a rumor. But that's the rumor. The Russians hit an airbase with those newly delivered F-16s. Probably false. That's probably false. But anyway, Netherlands making news. And KLM, the CEO of KLM, she is upset at the fact that Chinese airlines, they have an advantage when flying back and forth to Europe, because they can fly over Russian territory. How about that? And she's upset because the Chinese carriers, they can offer a cheaper price because they use less fuel. It takes them less time as well to get to Europe, or to go from Europe to China. They can shave off about 2 to 4 hours than the European airlines, which have to go around the big territory of Russia. And she is saying that this is causing KLM all kinds of financial damage. So she wants the European Union to do something. She's basically calling on the European Union to place some sort of tariffs or some sort of tax on Chinese airlines. So I guess when you book an airline from China going to Europe, or from Europe going to China, and it has to pass over Russia, she wants the European Union to put some sort of fee on top of that, so that it can compete with the additional costs that the European airlines have to incur, because airspace over Russia is closed. Now, why is airspace over Russia closed? Why did Russia close their airspace? Let me think. Why did Russia close their airspace? Why would Russia do such a thing? Man, Russia's evil. They're so evil. Why would they close their airspace to European carriers? Oh, I know why. Because the first thing that Ursula did when the special military operation started, the first thing that she did is that she closed European Union airspace to Russian commercial flights. So maybe the CEO of KLM, maybe what she should do, instead of instead of coming up with these workarounds and these schemes, or begging the European Union to come up with these workarounds or these schemes to place additional costs on Chinese carriers, maybe, just maybe, what the CEO of KLM should do is she should tell Ursula to lift the flight ban, the restriction on Russian carriers into Europe. And then when the restriction was lifted, Russia would lift their restrictions over Russian airspace. Maybe, just maybe, that would be a solution to this problem. And then KLM would not have to cut back on costs and perhaps lay off people, or I don't know what she was talking about. What was she talking about? Cutting back on the quality of meals or something like that. So they're going to give you crappier food because Ursula decided to close off European airspace to to Russian planes. Yep, you're going to get crappier food, everybody. Man, courtesy of Ursula. Russia's economy is in tatters. Tatters, I tell you. Let's see, what did she say here? Russia's airspace is closed to European airlines while Chinese carriers fly over it, which can save 2 to 4 hours. You see that reflected in pricing, and consequentially, our costs are higher, Rintel said in an interview with Dutch broadcaster WNL on Sunday. Rintel suggested that Brussels should intervene to address this competitive imbalance. Europe can at least explore how we can level the playing field by adjusting pricing or examining other alternatives, she stated. In the Netherlands, we are facing a tight labor market and rising wage costs, which differs from the situation in France, she added, referring to KLM's parent company, Air France-KLM. Due to a shortage of pilots and technicians, roster changes will occur and maintenance may need to be outsourced. She also said that KLM plans austerity measures aimed at saving 400 million euros annually, including 100 million by adjusting in-flight catering, Rintel said. Crappier food. Adjusting in-flight catering. Less food. Crappier food. That's going to save $400 million annually. 450 million euros annually. Yeah, so you have the same problem with British Airways. They have the same problem. Lufthansa has the same problem as well. I believe British Airways, actually, they canceled their flights going to China. Just wasn't worth it. So one more clown world and we'll wrap up this video. And did you guys see the videos that was put out by Ukraine Intel? These are videos that Ukraine Intel published, not Russian. Ukraine Intel published these videos, and they caught a son and mother, a mother and son team that was working for the Ukraine government. I believe the mother was issuing medical exemptions, and the son was doing something like that as well. I forgot exactly what they were doing, but basically they were taking money from Ukrainians trying to avoid military service, and they were writing medical exemptions. And they amassed, get this, they amassed $6 million. So Ukraine Intel, they published videos of this mother and son team sleeping on piles of cash. Not a joke, sleeping on piles of cash. They found money in cabinets and drawers and under a mattress. And man, all for medical exemption. Medical exemptions, dude. Crazy stuff, man. So yeah, that's Russian. That's Ukraine publishing this, not Russia publishing this. So obviously Ukraine Intel, they want to send a message. They're cracking down on corruption, or at least no corruption without us being in the loop, right? What do you think? What do you make of all the news going on? Yeah, not the cat. Yeah, I know. I know. Things are crazy. All right, everybody, that's the video. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch like this limited edition t-shirt that I am wearing today in this video. There is a link for our merchandise, our store in the description box down below. Take care.